Right, so Khris with a K interview. First question. So you're a versatile person, you DJ, you take photos, you interview artists, you blog, but what do you enjoy doing the most?
Probably DJing, but at the same time I can get the same amount of fun out of photography. From what I remember, from my favourite gigs, like DJing, even one at house parties, as long as you get the crowd moving, it's really cool. And it's also cool if you're taking photos at really good nights where the crowd's packed and the music's really lively, and you can just get the crowd going and get really, really good shots of them. So I mean, it's really hard to pick one, but it's among those two. But I think I did an interview with Elite Force, and he's people may not have heard of him, but he's done really big stuff. And I think one of the biggest names he's been involved with is, Tom York of Radiohead.
No.
Tom York, Radiohead, big band. If you're into indie, people will know about him for sure. He was in a band with Tom York before they started Radiohead back in university. And he's also done music for The Matrix, which is also pretty big. And right now he's one of the biggest artists in the breakbeat scene, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And his interview, when I wanted to interview him, I didn't realise he was more than just a DJ producer. There was a lot more to him, and when I actually started realising who he was and researching him properly, I just really felt out of my depth. So it was quite inspiring, the answers that he came up with. And even, I remember did an interview with Cutline, who are getting really big now.
Oh yeah, they're playing UK.
Cutline, they were talking about dubstep, where it was going, and especially because at the time Britney Spears had just come out with her semi-dubstep track.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the same thing sort of happened with drum and bass, whereas there was a commercial part of it, but there's still an underground scene still going on really strong, and saying the same thing will go on with dubstep really getting popular, and the likes of Justin Bieber jumping onto it. Yeah. There's still people coming through.
How do you come about getting work? Is it an all-in-one thing where they book you for photos and DJing, or?
Well, funnily enough, I thought it would be a good offer to try and offer that to people, but they never really took it up. So it was mostly people booking me one way or the other, rather than me necessarily getting myself sets. I think for some of my DJ sets, definitely I sent a mix to a promoter and they gave me a set or two. But with photography, it's more been they see my work and they wanted to hook me up.
Oh, that's good. How did you come about using the name Khris with a K? Was it a thing where people just spelt your name wrong?
No, Khris, my name's actually spelt that way because my dad, he was studying Greek when he named me, and the Greek, they don't have the C in their alphabet.
Yeah.
So they spelled the K and a H. And when I started, it sounds quite geeky, but when I was about 14, 15, I started going to Scouts. Yeah. And there was another guy called Khris, so I started becoming called Khris with a K. And generally, when people would realise how my name was spelled, they just start calling me Khris with a K.
What you're doing with your DJing and photography, is it a full-time job or is it a hobby, or?
Right now I probably have to come under hobby because I'm not getting enough money for it to be something I could live off at the moment, but hopefully one day I could take it there. I'm a university student studying design.
In the exclusive mix you did for Dubheadz, you fused a lot of genres in there.
Yeah.
Some more than others. What would you say is your favourite genre?
Couldn't say. I really couldn't say. Some of my favourite producers are like that of Noisia, where they have they probably come underneath breakbeat, but they go around different BPMs and different genres. So I couldn't really say that I have an all-time favourite genre.
And then last question, where do you think the rave scene is heading?
Well, there's very many different sections. There's a section of it where it's got this really experimental sort of post-dubstep, or whatever you want to call it, music, where you've got people like James Blake, and there's people like My Panda Shall Fly, where their music's very experimental. And for some people are really into it, like you got your stuff like Boiler Room, where people really like that sort of music and go to those sort of nights. And so there's a side that's by no means tear out music, and it's starting to like sort of split, where you have very talented music in the dubstep scene, and people are still sort of slightly coming off that and want to go back to the original dubstep roots. So it's, I don't know, the scene's going to two places where it's very tear out, or it's just not tear out at all. I say that's pretty much where it's going at the moment, but it's always hard to tell. You don't know what's gonna come out of nowhere.
That's it.